Hey guys, Nightwing19 here with my review for episode 14 of Arrow, The Return. A lot of people have been speculating on what this episode title might mean. Does it mean the return of Slade Wilson? Does it mean the return of Oliver on Lian Yu? Or does that mean the return of Oliver to Starling City in the flashbacks? It's a combination of both, but primarily it's about Oliver returning back to Starling City in the flashbacks. Remember, this is the episode where the flashbacks are seen more than the present day scenes, so the title is referring to Oliver going back to Starling City. The season 1 episode where the flashbacks were seen more than the present day scenes was called The Odyssey, and that was just Oliver's journey trying to head home. Then in season 2 we got The Promise, and that was pretty much Oliver trying to head home again, and it pretty much references Slade's promise to Oliver that he will not kill him until he knows true suffering. So I'm going to talk about all of that later on in my review. So starting with the recap, while on the island of Lian Yu, Oliver begins training Thea. After a night dream of Sarah, Oliver goes to the Argus prison to visit Slade Wilson, where he discovers the guard dead and Slade missing. Oliver warns Thea and retrieves a gun from the side of his father's grave, and Slade arrives and captures them. Slade imprisons them in the Argus cell, leaving them to the same fate Oliver left him. The duo are able to open the doors and escape. Oliver reveals to Thea that she killed Sarah. While she grapples with the truth, Slade arrives. The three fight, and Thea wounds Slade with his gun, allowing them to imprison him back in the cell. In the flashbacks, Oliver and Maceo go to Starling City to track an employer of Queen Consolidated who is working with China White to sell the part of the virus she controls. They track the location of the buy and disrupt the proceedings. Oliver looks in on his family and discovers that Thea is using drugs, and a video message from his father explaining the list of names and encouraging Oliver to save the city. So overall, I'm giving this episode a 10. This episode does a really great job in setting up Oliver's journey in the flashbacks. He finds a message his father left him that explains the list of names and also gives him the motivation to save Starling City. We actually see a lot of mirroring to Oliver's future in the flashbacks. We saw him wearing a green hood, and when he confronted Thea's seller, he had that Arrow voice. Maceo told Oliver that the disguise he had wouldn't even work if he had grease paint on his face, so that mirrors to how Oliver disguised himself in season 1 and a little bit in season 2, so clearly he did not take Maceo's advice. Overall, I found this episode very interesting. This episode is the episode that features the flashbacks more than the present day scenes. The first one they did, The Odyssey, is my favorite just because it seemed more realistic. You have Oliver knocked out stone cold after taking a shot to the arm from his mom, and in his time of unconsciousness, he remembers this one time where he tried to head home with Slade. Now that I think about it, every episode that had more flashback scenes than present day scenes feature Oliver trying to head home. This time was like the closest he had ever gotten to going home because he was at home, but now he has to go back to China to be debriefed. And speaking of Oliver heading back to China, not exactly sure where the flashbacks are going now. Oliver defeated China White, so now he's going to have to head back to China, and afterwards he'll be given the reward to go wherever he wants, which is home. Not sure why the general that came in the end of the episode, his name is General Shreve, wants Oliver to go back to Hong Kong. It's more easy to debrief him back home in the US, but that creates problems for the writers because now they have to think of a way to send Oliver away from Starling City. What I think is going to happen is that something will happen that prevents Oliver from heading back to Starling City. Maybe he will get the reward of going back home, but afterwards his boat or plane that he's traveling on ends up back on Lian Yu some way, somehow. Either way, we'll find out in the next episode. So now on to Easter eggs. There weren't so many Easter eggs really, more like references. Oliver did tell Thea that there is one other prisoner on the island. That was referring to Captain Boomerang. He probably couldn't show up because he served no real purpose to the plot or the actor was unavailable, but it was good for them to reference him just to inform the fans that he is on the island. I've already mentioned Oliver trying to be like himself in the next 5 years with the grease paint, the green hood, and the deep voice. Andy Diggle makes his first appearance on the show. Remember, that is Diggle's brother, the one who was killed by Deadshot and is the center of the whole Hive mystery. Now that they have the actor, it could be possible that he could show up again in the flashback. It'd be really crazy if he's alive and his death was a fraud so that he could drop off the radar and work for Hive. I do believe that Hive is going to be the villain for next season. We'll get some more closure on what shady business Andy is in that season, or if his death was a fake death. We even saw Felicity drooling over Oliver's creepy looking photo while Oliver was in the room. Oliver seemed charmed by her too. I'm sure that in a future episode, Oliver will mention this moment to Felicity, like, hey, I met you this one time when you were looking at my creepy photo. So, now into top 5 moments, starting with number 5, Slade's return.
I have no desire to kill either of you. This time tomorrow, 2 bodies will be found in Sterling City, burned beyond any recognition, with ample evidence that Oliver and Thea Queen have been killed in some horrible accident. I'm gonna leave you, kid, the same way you left me. Alone in purgatory.
And you leave me, and you let my sister go.
You're lucky I didn't bury her next to Shadow. Did he tell you about her? Shadow. It's the reason why this is all happening. Why I killed your mother.
He doesn't need to. I figured out you're a sick son of a bitch all on my own.
Well, of course he didn't tell you. Your brother likes his secrets. He'll always have. That's who you are. You know, maybe if you'd told me what really happened with Shadow, your mother would still be alive.
That's enough!
I agree! Welcome home, kid.
Number 4, Oliver and Thea versus Slade. Really great seeing Manu Bennett. Anytime he shows up, it's just amazing. I really have to say that I feel like Slade was written wrong. Deathstroke in the comics is this really badass character, and the Slade on the show is obsessed with making Oliver suffer, that it makes him weak to a degree. Both Deathstrokes are great. However, even though I would have wanted a Slade Wilson from the comics, I feel like the show did a good thing. The writers wanted Oliver to face a more personal problem in Season 2. Since Slade was introduced in Season 1 and since then they've had a really close bond, to have that bond broken and for Oliver and Slade to be bitter enemies, it really makes for a good storyline.
I'm here to make good with my promise, kid.
Number 3, Robert Queen's message to Oliver.
I'm not the man you think I am, Oliver. I didn't save our city. I failed it. I did something terrible, and in my efforts to make it right, I ignored my conscience and made alliances with terrible people. There's a book with a list of all their names. With these people, I always told myself, everything I did for my family. That's a lie. Because what good is a family without a soul? You can right my wrongs. You can be better than I was. You can save this city.
Number 2, Oliver fails at being a vigilante.
What were you thinking? Anyone at that party could have seen you.
Yeah, I pulled the hoodie down to cover my face.
That disguise wouldn't work even if you smeared grease paint over your face.
So what, you came to chastise me at gunpoint?
And my number 1 moment, Oliver defeats China White.
I don't like uninvited guests. Satakui.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Actually, you arrived right on time. Let's go.
Make the call. Find me the Yamashiros. They died tonight.
Choice to make.
What choice?
Whether or not you want to keep your hand.
So what do you guys think? Did you like this episode? And tell me which episode where the flashbacks are more present than the present day scenes is your favorite. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and remember, I'll be doing reviews for all episodes of Arrow this season. Be sure to subscribe to catch them. Subscribe to my other channel, Jedi450, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr for updates on Arrow, The Flash, and more. Thanks for watching. Bye.